If you've been listening to the podcast for a while and thought, man, I would love to grab a drink and pick the brain of some of these guests I've been listening to, or maybe me as well, here's your shot. I'm putting on an event this April called Elevate. This is the third year doing this, and we're going to be in Phoenix, Arizona, where we're going to have the top agency owners really come together, share what's working, get real on what's not, and really help each other scale faster. So if you're ready to finally get out of the weeds and grow your agency the right way, I want you to join me and 50 other amazing 7 and 8 figure agencies at Elevate. You'll connect with people who've been there, leave with a real growth plan, and actually enjoy the process. Now, we only have a few tickets left, so make sure you go over to elevatemyagency.com to lock in your spot now. Go to elevatemyagency.com now. I want to thank everyone for listening, and I really want to acknowledge that it's been a really interesting year in the agency space. And this year we've interviewed, really over 100 amazing agency owners, and we've highlighted a few great conversations that might help people move into the new year and be ready to take their agency to the next level. My first guest, really talks about AI, and this conversation with Manish really gives us the state of the union, so to speak, of where most agencies stand and what they face in this ever-changing AI landscape. We want to talk about, where the state of agencies is going, right? Mm-hmm. I see a lot of things shifting very quickly, more than when I first started agency when the web came, right? Are you seeing the same thing with your partners and in your business as well?
Yeah, it's been 12 years. I've been part of this agency ecosystem, and I started my career in late 2006. So I have seen the evolution of internet, right? And I always love Steve Jobs' quote, which is you can always connect the dots forward looking backward. So I right now there is a huge shift happening in the entire agency ecosystem, not just agency ecosystem in general, all the businesses, right? And AI is kind of like physics, which you cannot ignore. It's the reality, right? So I think the AI related shift is absolutely happening, but the core shift which is happening, which I see, is like the efficiency. So I think more and more agencies we work with, they are seeing that their clients would like to see the efficient solution, regardless of the services they are offering, be it like websites or digital marketing came in. And when we talk about the efficiency, the very next thing comes is like the cost, reduced cost, right? Because once you become more efficient, then obviously the cost is going to go down. So couple of things, right, that which we have been doing internally and which I have been seeing, and like I said, if I collect the dots from the past and connect in the future, so this is what I'm seeing right now, that right around 2004, WordPress launched, Shopify launched, all these platforms launched. So the businesses do not have to go to the agencies to build a custom websites and custom e-commerce stores. And pre 2004, the agencies, businesses were selling simple website for $50,000, e-commerce stores for $100,000 because they had to build it from scratch, right? And these platforms launched, and what happened, all of a sudden the agencies were not able to charge them $50,000, $100,000. So they had to squeeze the cost. They had to reduce the cost, make use of these platforms to bring down that cost, right? And when right around the time these platforms were launched, I call it there was the honeymoon period for the agencies, right? Because a lot of businesses were not aware about these platforms, and agencies were still charging like $100,000. But over the period of time, pretty much all the businesses knew that, okay, these are the platforms, you can actually build websites and e-commerce stores very quickly at lower cost, right? Now, if we go to this point back in, let's get back again in 2025, that's the same thing going to happen with AI. So I think the entire agency ecosystem is right now in that honeymoon period where we are building websites with WordPress, Shopify, all these, platforms. But also now moving forward, we'll go more and more towards like no code platforms where, where pretty much all these platforms, either all these platforms will integrate AI to build sites faster and, with at a more less time, and or someone else in the WordPress ecosystem community or Shopify community will integrate AI, which will help agencies to build sites faster, which means that if you are charging your client, let's say, $20,000 for a website, probably, there is a AI right now you can integrate in your process, and probably you can charge like 15,000 and deliver the same thing. But right now the businesses have no idea, right? And there are not any use cases right now. There are no solid tools available. We've been exploring a lot of tools right now to increase our efficiency, so we can pass that efficiencies to agency and they can pass to their clients. But there are no such tools. But I can see, collecting those from the past, this is going to happen in the next few years. So I think the major shift which I'm seeing right now is that thing where agencies are trying to become more and more efficient, and even like they're looking forward ways to become more efficient.
Well, the thing too is AI is not going to replace agencies, but agencies that use AI will. And looking back at God, a quarter decade or a quarter century.
Quarter century.
My gosh, right? Like that's crazy. Like over 25 years since 99. So 26 years I've been in the agency business. And what used to take us so many people doesn't take us many people anymore. And the opportunity I see for agencies is not just using AI. Like, look, every agency hopefully is using it for copywriting and that kind of stuff, but it can do so much more. Like I even saw, I think the CEO of NVIDIA said this is like, we used to tell everybody that they should know how to code like a couple years ago. And now he's like, no, you don't need to code anymore. Like the mid-level to lower level coding is all done by AI.
Yes.
And so you should understand this. Like I'm constantly telling agencies, because they'll send me their books to look at and review and going, how's the profitability? Is there anything that points out? I tell them, put that into AI and just say, I want you to act as the best CFO. I want you to look at this profit statement and this balance sheet and tell me what I should know about and act as like the best CFO. Or if you're doing SEO for someone, have it look at the reports. Like agencies, I look at as, think about years ago when car manufacturers started making cars, hundreds of years ago, right?
Yeah.
What did they create? Because they didn't want to deal with the public. They created car dealers.
Dealership,
But if you think about it, especially with like Tesla, even though the crazy stuff that's going on there, right? Tesla goes direct. So they're getting rid of the car dealers, right? So you got to think, if you're an agency owner, how do I position myself as that advisor? I've always talked about rather than the doer, because if clients are coming to you and your agency and going, here's my thing I want you to do, you're just a doer and you can be replaced. But if they're coming to you with their biggest challenge, then you position yourself in the right way. Now, next up is a winning agency needs a winning team. And Kristen talks about how being a coach / mentor instead of a boss will give your team that confidence or that autonomy that they need to take on, anything. When was the point when you kind of transitioned from an owner of doing everything to more of a leader or a CEO? Was there a pivotal moment that happened, or?
So in 2006, I had one client who was enormous, like 75% of our business. And I couldn't sleep at night. I felt like we were handcuffed. Like if we did something wrong or we didn't do what they were asking us to do, we might lose the client. And so I had this anxiety and fear about losing this client. And I was talking to a colleague of mine who had a successful business, and she said, I hired a business consultant. You might want to might want to talk to her. And so I ended up hiring a business consultant. And that business consultant I had on full time for 4 years, and they taught me how to be a CEO, because it always felt like I was a freelancer. It felt like I was just running a band of freelancers. Like I wasn't really running a business before then, and all my eggs in one basket. And in that first year of bringing on that business consultant, I brought on 25 new clients because I made a commitment to do sales and do networking. And that's where I was able to start building a bigger circle of clients versus just my own sphere of influence, which was very small compared to what I could build.
Yeah, I always looked at kind of referrals or word of mouth was always kind of not scalable. It will only get you to a certain point in the agency. And then you're still getting the same clients over and over again. They're not the ones that you can use to upgrade. So outside of getting out there, being the face of, for sales and doing sales, what were the other things that you think a CEO of an agency needs to do?
To get more sales or to grow?
Just to grow.
I think I always say the smartest people in the room are the people who surround themselves with experts in each of their own disciplines. And so it's really having that advisory board of smart people who are going to really tell you the truth, the things maybe you don't want to hear, but you need to hear. And, that's, consultant in your finances, a consultant maybe in HR, a consultant in what should you be doing for your own marketing and your own branding, a consultant on sales, bringing in those smart people to really help you look at things from an outside perspective. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I always looked at it as when I kind of break it out into kind of 4 or 5 roles, right? One is kind of what is the vision I need for the agency, and then letting everyone in the agency know, which allowed everyone on the team to make decisions without coming to me. Because I remember in the days where every decision had to flow through me. And I couldn't leave on vacation. I couldn't go to, my son's basketball practice or football practice or wherever. I always had to be there. But when, I came up with that vision and everyone knew it, now they could make decisions a lot of times better than I would. I also looked at it as kind of, do you feel that your job is managing your team or coaching your team?
Definitely a coach. I feel much more like a coach. And I say that the best quality in a team member is that they are coachable.
Yeah.
They are open to hear feedback. They're open to hear, they want to be better. And I try to be more of a coach to everybody than anything else.
Yeah. Was that an easy transition for you or hard? Because a lot of times, a lot of people on our mastermind, when they first come in and they try to coach someone, they're more of kind of just trying to manage them. I'm like, no, you don't need to hire people that you should manage because you're probably a shitty manager. Right. Like you need to hire someone that can manage themselves. You just need to say, here's the outcome I want, go figure it out, rather than here's the tasks that you need to go through and then manage that.
Yeah, I think it also is insightful. Like you need to be able to see someone's experiencing something, or there's a failure, if you will. But it's not the failure. The failure is just a symptom of something else deeper going on. So the ability to see this is just a symptom. Let's get down to the root of the problem, and being able to ask the right questions.
Oh.
And a lot of times it's them solving their own problem. You're just letting them see it and then asking them, hey, what do you think you should do? And letting them, and then encouraging them when they're like, yeah, that sounds like a great solution.
Yeah, then they stop coming to you, which is the whole plan.
Right. Leveraging yourself is important because we only have time is the non-renewable resource, and we only have so much time. That's the biggest thing that I talk about week in and week out is time is our enemy. We have to be efficient, and let's figure out new efficiencies and improve our effectiveness and efficiency through communication in our work. And, time is really what we're up against every day.
Hi there, agency owners. Let me ask you, are you ready to scale your agency without increasing your overhead costs? If yes, then you need to know about E2M Solutions. Now, E2M is the #1 most reliable white label partner for agencies. They specialize in web design, WordPress development, e-commerce, SEO, and content writing. They basically do all the heavy lifting, which frees you up to focus on growing your agency. Now, here's the best part. E2M's just not another vendor. With over 10 years of experience, their team of over 300 experts has a track record of delivering for more than 300 agencies. They're your strategic partner. They deliver on time every time, so you can focus on what you do best. Now, E2M's mission is simple: to help 500 agencies increase their revenue and profit margins with white label services that actually work. And to help you get started, they're offering a special deal, 10% off for the first 3 months, but act fast because it's only a limited time offer. So head over to e2msolutions.com/smartagency to check out their transparent and their flexible pricing. Trust me, if you're ready to grow without burning out, E2M's the partner you've been looking for. That's e2msolutions.com/smartagency. Go check them out and tell them Jason Swank sent you. You guys always talk about relationship building with clients or prospects. When everything is AI driven, the human aspect really goes a long way in gaining clients' trust on the road to becoming their trusted advisor. Now, Chris visits every client he has in person. My favorite line from Chris is this: "You mean to tell me it's not worth a $500 plane ticket to go shake a hand with a $125,000 client?" Just think about it.
With such a big team now, how do you ensure, and this is still a struggle with small teams, how do you ensure the results and your clients are actually happy? And for example, for the past year and a half, I've worked with several agencies, not like I've been paying them. I've been a client of theirs, and they've been so bad. Like their communication's bad, results bad. And I just thought, I was like, how? And I was asking this in the mastermind. I was like, how do you make sure that your clients are happy? And especially when you're so many levels, buried.
It's a good question. I mean, I could give you the basic net promoter score. Right. We do that. But the reality is it's really subjective, and we look for signals that I call saves. And we track saves. That's one of the KPIs we track. And it's kind of loose, but like, I'll give you a few examples of this. If a client isn't vibing or mentions a derogatory or something negative about his account manager, that's a save. Like he may have, it doesn't matter how the results are. We need to address that. Communication goes dark for X a period of time. That's a save. There's a number of these, and we've got a list of them, but we track them. And that's one of, you get on the leadership weekly leading indicators. That's one of them that we track, and it's a little bit different. And it also helps us because we try to prevent that and fix that, in the future. Like we notice that this happens, so we establish a better meeting cadence, or we, bring in the director of accounts as a secondary in a private conversation, says, hey, if you ever have any issues with this account manager, I want you to let me know. So they have an outlet, and it's not just like poof, they're gone because they don't want to feel awkward. The other thing that we do on sales and accounts is we try to meet all clients in person.
Yeah, it goes back to, you remember, I think did you have that before Marty was talking about that?
We just started doing it recently. I think it's like at the end of the day, with access to AI and kind of this general intelligence, and like we're all kind of selling the same things, but we all got case studies, we all got good results. It's like at the end of the day, I think people want a relationship. So if we can get out there and visit them, it goes a long way.
I think that's key. I remember this was years ago. This is when we had the experience at my house. And I remember we had Joey Coleman at the house, and he was talking about the first 100 days. And then, Marty was like, well, I try to meet with them at least once a year. And like you said, with Zoom, like that was something I challenged the mastermind last week. I said, how often are you meeting with your clients? Oh, all the time. No. In person. Because if you actually sit down to dinner with someone and you're just chilling and chatting and having a good time, you're going to build a lot more rapport, and they're going to be less likely to someone I just chat with on Zoom every once in a while that, drives me crazy.
Yeah. Also, it's like, you go meet a sales prospect in person, you go to their law office, you get to learn their secretaries, their top trial attorneys, what their real pains are.
Yeah.
Like, I may not even do the service, but if I help them, it's like, okay, Chris really wants my business to succeed. So he cares. So obviously he cares about the SEO or the PPC or whatever. So that goes a long way. I mean, Steven and me and the president, we literally went to San Antonio a couple weeks ago, meet somebody in person. And we have a budget. Actually, the CFO budgets travel for account managers and sales reps. Like, it's in the budget. Like, so it's just something I think that's going to be more and more important as kind of the
you stand out.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling people, I was like, just to stand out, you just got to do what you say you're going to do. That's point one. Like, most people don't do that. And then you're going to get me results and you're going to meet with me. Like, especially if you didn't sell the deal and you're like, oh man, this big time, CEO is coming out to see me. Like, that goes a long way, even though they know us and they're like, if they knew us, they'd be like, what?
It's like our lifetime client value across all of our clients is like, let's say $125,000. So you mean to tell me it's not worth it to go spend $500,000 to jump on a plane to go? When you think of it that way, it's like wild how important that is.
My next guest talks about, how he navigated the 2008 recession. Being a, thrifty and innovative agency, to really kind of stand out when marketing spend was at its all-time low. He really goes into a story about how he started working with Red Bull on marketing campaigns. It took us many years to figure out. We've even used psychiatrists in the past to help craft our questions that we ask our clients to really kind of figure out, what do they want? What do they actually need? Because there was a lot of clients that we dealt with, because we work with the biggest brands in the world too.
Sure.
And we would go to them and they'd be like, we don't like it. Well, what don't you like? I don't like it. I don't like this. Is it the color? Is it the positioning? Is it what? And then it was like one little thing. We're like, well, if we take that out.
Right. I remember there was one time when we were launching the new Ford Focus, and this would have been in probably 2010, 2011. We wanted to try something wildly different because we needed to break through. It was a younger customer, and one of the challenges Ford had was, with the exception of some of the specialty vehicles, like the stuff that I know you like, the overall average age of the consumer in the showroom was higher than we wanted it to be. So we're trying to attract to a group that we really hadn't had a lot of success with in the past. So we went through a couple of different iterations and ended up with Doug, the spokes puppet, for the Focus, which I just remember at one point, like, I think it was the day before we were going to launch the campaign, the head of PR actually called my boss, the head of marketing, and said, are you guys sure about this? Like, you really think people are going to be okay with a puppet being like our spokesman? And he just said back to him, it's a puppet. Like, don't worry about it. Clearly nobody's going to take it seriously, right? The puppet has not taken your job. So it was funny, just kind of sometimes things that, in retrospect was obviously the right thing to do, but it in a traditional company, which is another problem with big companies that don't move quickly, right? It's always turning an aircraft carrier to get anything done. Sometimes you just had to learn to push on, where you could to try to make things really move forward. So that was a great campaign. I don't know if you ever saw any of the footage of Doug.
No, I don't remember. I remember the Ford Focus. I don't think they're doing the Ford Focus anymore. Because I remember the Ford Focus when they made the SVT car that they would use in the rally, off-road and that kind of stuff. That I was like, well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, SVT is a lens through which you look at all Ford product. I realize that.
That's right. I'm not going to get a Taurus. Nothing against Taurus, but
right.
But I remember we were doing a campaign for, I still can't say the name, a large beverage company with a red logo in Atlanta.
Okay, got it.
And it was for a young urban market, and we did this campaign. And the CMO walked in and was like, I don't get it. I don't like it. This is horrible. We're like, you're a fat old white guy. You're not going to get it.
Yeah.
And so if you want to buy 1 million cases of Coke or whatever product that we're pushing, sorry, I think I blew the name. Oh, well, see me. Right. You can get it.
Right.
So yeah, it was always difficult. But what I always told people too, and what I told my team is, look, you have to, if we're doing a job, we have to always have the best interests of them in hand. And we got to be challengers to our clients of going, I see your point of view, but this is what you've told us. And based on everything you told us, this is our recommendation.
Right.
And if they don't like it, walk away.
Right. Or, one of the things I'll do sometimes too is say, well, why don't we A/B test it, right? And particularly if it's not a huge lift, it's just a difference in, a subject or just the focus. Like, we'll use the same creative, but we'll just change, the tagline on the email or something and see which one works better, right? Because ultimately, the behavior of the customers is the only thing you should be caring about. It's not my opinion. It's not your opinion. It's what are the customers actually doing, right?
That's right.